are back. OutKick 360 on the OutKick OTT network alongside Chad Withrow and Paul Kuharski. I'm Jonathan Hutton, the cast and crew, all here at 6th and Peabody. Yeehaw, Old Smoky Moonshine. We are ready for the OutKick VIP watch party as the NCAA tournament gets into full swing on this Friday. Gentlemen, it's here.
Did anyone else feel a little extra tingle this morning when you woke up? College basketball in the air. It's March. Here in Nashville, it doesn't quite feel like March and spring outside, but to me, it feels like basketball in the tournament.
Absolutely. Basketball requires tall men, and this is a setting that shows off that we have two tall men. This is not a matter of me being short. My mother always talks about this. This is, and we referred to her earlier this week. This is about them being tall. I am a man of average height. These are tall men.
Oh, we like
Let's just get that on the record.
I'm not Detlef Schrempf over here. I mean, I'm not like 6'10".
Manute Bol and Sean Bradley.
6'3",
we send our sympathies to Sean Bradley.
5'5".
For his
That's the height
terrible
breakdown.
accent. I'm not 5'5", I'm 5'9". We marked it on the door at our old studio.
So we're going to have Clay Travis, who's going to swing by momentarily. He's going to be hanging out with VIPs here in about 45 minutes. We have a great crew headed here to watch all the games all day. If you're in the Middle Tennessee area, Nashville area, swing by 6th and Peabody. We're going to be here all day as we watch all of the college basketball games, and we had one last night. I would have bet the house on Michigan State.
I would
but we were
too.
all at dinner when tip-off happened.
My Big Ten theory gets blown up last night, and I watched the last 6 minutes plus overtime when I got home from a dinner. It couldn't shoot. The guy tosses up an air ball. There's some debate as to whether a UCLA defender touches it. They review it. No, he didn't touch it. He didn't touch it. It was just an air ball.
Just a terrible shot.
Then they go into overtime, another air ball. I mean, they were terrible. They didn't look like a team that deserved to go anywhere in March. I don't think UCLA is going anywhere either. But Michigan State was awful last night, I thought, when it came to crunch time.
Well, here's the lesson. When you spend 5 minutes hyping up Michigan State on this show, like we did yesterday, and I was talking about all the going back and forth I was doing on taking BYU to beat Michigan State in the next round, then the fate was sealed for the Spartans at that point. You knew they were going to go out there and lay an egg and lose in the first 4 game, and that's exactly what they did. Lesson learned, no more hyping up Michigan State.
We will give you our perfect parlay coming up in about 15 minutes as well. Whenever Clay arrives, we'll go through our top bets that we've placed on FanDuel for the weekend, and for me, at least specifically today.
Yes.
Last night at dinner, the topic was Deshaun Watson, guys. And where we're headed with this, we now have 3 accusers, or we have 3 cases. And according to the attorney, Busby, he says he has up to 9 accusers now.
Does that open a floodgate? It seems, look, all this is speculation to a degree beyond that. But it would seem if there are 9, that there will be more. And
well, how many more do you need?
Do we have? You don't need more, but it suggests that Deshaun Watson is a habitual offender. To what degree? And it doesn't really matter to what degree, but how far did he push things with how many masseuses? Masseurs. We're still working.
We still don't know the plural of
I think
masseuse.
it's just masseuses. We're having fun. But to what degree did he go way out of bounds with these women on a regular basis? Now, I will say, the text that the lawyer put out, you're comfortable with glutes. Well, professional athletes have need for glutes to be massaged. Glutes and groins are, fair game in athletic massage. So I don't think that's particularly incriminating. What we've heard about him forcing oral sex is absolutely
the incriminating text is on the second page that he sent out.
Sorry,
according to the attorney, it's from Deshaun Watson, who says, "I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable."
Yeah. But surely he has things that are even more damaging than that. And you don't need damaging text from Deshaun Watson to have a strong case.
Right.
You need testimony from these women who say what, and one of them has already said he forced oral sex.
Well, Deshaun Watson came out strong with the initial allegation and said, I look forward to clearing my name. This was a 6-figure settlement that was proposed. This is preposterous. I'm going to clear my name and show everyone that I'm completely innocent. Now that 8 other accusers have come forward, this is either one of the most elaborate hoaxes that's a complete fabrication with all of these women, or Deshaun Watson has a big problem. And I'm not just talking about a problem in the NFL, a problem legally possibly moving forward, because, guys, I don't know about you, but best case scenario right now for Deshaun Watson is he just has a real problem with being inappropriate with masseuses he pays to give him a massage, right?
Yeah. And
I mean, if you could debate, okay, I didn't force anyone to do anything. The first accusation, Paul, you talked about, where he proposes something, she says no, he says okay, gets up, walks out of the room, and says, don't tell anybody about this.
It's just
That's a different
poor
level
manners, bad
to forcing someone on top of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a completely different thing.
But these have escalated. The charges have escalated. Now, the Houston Texans have handled this whole Deshaun Watson thing poorly. How much are they wishing they hadn't been so stubborn about this? They could have dealt him, got 3 first-rounders and a player and a second-rounder back, and this would be somebody else's headache. Somebody else's thing to deal with. Not that that's the most important thing. Obviously, the victims are the most important thing. This trend is the most important thing. But Houston Texans could have moved on from all of this, should have, frankly, moved on from all of this. The value isn't going to get higher come draft time. The value is probably, don't you think, Hutton, at its peak as free agency opened, as teams were, even before that, before the Wentz deal, before the Stafford deal, at the very beginning, the biggest quarterback who's on the market had the most value. When the board is clean and the teams that need quarterbacks are looking for their first corner. Carolina is desperate for this guy. They're not as desperate for this guy today as they were before the first story came out.
Not with
you've
the
got
NFL
a depreciating asset.
So we talked about this. It's not really a possibility because none of us buy it. But remember, the initial reaction was, boy, something's up. The Texans are up to something. Something's going on. The only possible thing that the Texans could be thinking was he's going to be tainted goods. So if a story comes out that we knew about or that gets leaked, suddenly his trade value diminishes, and you could go to Deshaun Watson and say, now we're going to stick by you. This is your only option. Now you have to stay with the Texans, and you're going to be a part of this organization. None of us are buying that, but that's the only possible way that this would be. Guys, I'm trying to find a way to believe Deshaun Watson based on his statement, that it's preposterous and he's going to defend his name at this point. And it's becoming increasingly more difficult to do so because there's 9 accusers. And it's a very consistent theme. When you are DMing a woman you don't know that's a masseuse in a different city, asking to fly her in to massage you, I don't care how into massage you are, that's a weird thing to do.
I lived in Houston. It's a sprawling city. Like geographically, I think it's the biggest city in America. I can assure you that in that footprint, there are no lack of masseuses who can handle an athlete of Deshaun Watson's caliber. Also, guys, I've covered the league for 25 years. Most of them find a masseuse. That's my masseuse. He or she knows how to get the spot in my back ironed out. Know how to loosen my hip flex, whatever my main issue is, he or she knows how to deal with it. And I have regular appointments, and he or she is at my house Monday, Wednesday, Friday during the off season. They're at my house Monday after a game. And if I can't get my masseuse, it's an issue. I have to use somebody else's masseuse. Oh my God. It's not I'm shopping for a different masseuse 3 masseuses for 3 massages in a week.
It's a bizarre story that's just getting started, and I can't help but think about how far Houston has fallen off the sports map. This started with the Rockets GM who denounced China and was fired.
Who's a supremely gifted personnel evaluator and analytics cutting edge
Which
guy.
is ridiculous. It starts there. We know how things have gone with the Rockets organization since then.
A complete blow up of that organization.
The Houston Astros with the cheating and the scandal involved there.
SOBs.
And now the Houston Texans who can't do anything right. Deshaun Watson demands a trade.
How are the
they
Comets
refuse. And now we see that the NFL's now looking into
I'll
it.
tell you
It's
what
all for
that-
the Comets and the Dynamo.
No, I'll tell you what that means for Houston. Pump up the Cougars, baby. A 2 seed in the tournament. I've got them in the Elite Eight in my bracket. Let's go Cougars. It's all about the Cougs now in Houston.
Dynamo.
Houston's one of my upsets in the tournament.
Well, there you
Kinda
go.
going down.
Hutton's predicting the city of Houston continues their downfall.
The decline continues.
We talked
First
about
Deshaun Watson, and now the Cougars lose in the first round as a 2 seed.
We talked about the necessity of paper, and I filled out a bracket on Monday that got to the Elite Eight. And then last night, I just threw out an ESPN bracket while I was watching the end of that terrible Michigan State game. And so my bracket now is in my phone, which is a real hassle to look at, though it does constantly update for you. But there's Chad's paper. I'd prefer to have
What is-
that in my pocket.
What is important about this time of year? Right?
Paper,
It's
paper.
the
Dunder
paper
Mifflin.
bracket.
That's
I will have
Dunder
this on
Mifflin
me
paper.
at this watch party today. If you want to know what I did in my bracket, which probably no one really does, but if you do, I'm glad. I'll bring it out. I'll have it on me the whole time. I will show you exactly what. This is the fun of the bracket, Paul.
I think
You
people
gotta
are
have
in
the physical
agreement
copy.
generally. They don't want to know about your bracket or your fantasy team. Like, we might want to know because we kind of pit ourselves against each other and whatever. And we want to know how much we're winning and losing from our slush fund.
Well, something else fun is it, like the Nate Bargatze slush fund he talked about yesterday, his gambling slush fund.
yeah, when you
on
get
Venmo.
when you go deep enough that your wife has to know.
Your
it.
faux Venmo account that you use to pay off gambling debts.
Well, that's not faux. It's secret.
I said faux, not fun. But the cathartic experience of either circling your team that wins or crossing them out when they lose is also fun with the bracket.
And think how many. This is traditional, right? How many on the first day you're like ready to throw it away.
That'll probably be me.
Florida and Virginia Tech will get things tipped off in the tournament. Arkansas and Colgate follow. We're going to preview all of the SEC matchups throughout today and tomorrow as we roll on here. Broadcasting live from Yeehaw, from Old Smoky Moonshine, and from 6th and Peabody. It is the OutKick VIP watch party happening all
Speaking
day.
of our
That's all one
surroundings,
place, by the way.
If you behind us here, what should we drink first? I think is the question.
Colors are tremendous.
I'm-
My son would love these colors.
I'm digging the Hunch Punch. This was a college favorite.
It looks like a grain alcohol
Chad's
variety.
starting strong.
I'm a big fan of fruit or vegetable dipped in alcohol,
What's the
pure
green?
grain alcohol.
What's the
We've got cherries. We've got pickles.
What's the green?
We've got like a butter pecan concoction over
Is
here.
this butter pecan?
No, that is straight.
White lightning.
That is straight
I
white
need
lightning.
to avoid this.
That is from a holler. That right there, Paul.
50%, 100 proof. Yeah. If
exactly
I
what you
have a
want.
shot of this, I'd be, the way I've been not eating and not drinking, I'd be laying down on the floor over there. It'd be
Coming
a hell of
up,
a shot.
Paul takes a shot of that, and then he lays down on the
He
floor.
Yeah,
sips.
hell of a
You don't shoot that. You sip this.
hell of a show shot if me laying on the floor.
It's going to be a great day. If you're on your way, give us a shout on Twitter at OutKick360 is where you can find us. When we come back, our perfect parlay for day one of the NCAA tournament next on OutKick360. OutKick's VIP watch party happening today, downtown Nashville. OutKick 360 is here with Chad Withrow and Paul Kuharski. I'm Jonathan Hutton. Time for the perfect parlay from FanDuel.com/OK360. You can place your bets on all of the NCAA action. Some great options, and the three of us have placed and made our parlay bets for today. Guys, I told you last night, I started scanning through my list of games, and much like I'm able to do, I can convince myself that it's a winner immediately.
Especially when you know you're getting a 50 back. So there's no reason not to feel entirely confident.
You know, I don't feel that confident considering I did a 4-game parlay last night with the start of the tournament, and I somehow went 0 for 4. I didn't win one leg of the parlay. Oh, sorry, I did win. No,
Drake.
Actually, I didn't because I don't think Drake covered. I picked him to cover like 2.5 or 3.
They won by a point?
I think they won by 1 point, so I didn't even win that.
0 for 4.
0 for 4, which doesn't have me feeling confident.
You really got warm during the first 4.
I'm going to muster up some confidence in my perfect parlay today. How about that?
All right, so I think it's better if you run through all 3.
Yeah, so I'm going to run through mine to get going,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go in reverse order of tip-off time.
Okay.
And all my games are today. Winthrop money line against Villanova. The Eagles are deep. They play as many as 10 to 11 players. Nova, they lost Gillespie 2 weeks ago now. Winthrop 10th nationally in rebounding, 8th in offensive rebounding. Rock Hill, South Carolina, known for football. Not tonight. I've got the Eagles of Winthrop winning outright. Oral Roberts, I'm taking the points, 16.5 against the second seeded Ohio State Buckeyes. The Golden Eagles, they covered games this year against Wichita State, Oklahoma State. They covered against Arkansas. They covered against Oklahoma. And they were double-digit underdogs in those matchups. They can score, and they're in the top 15 in points per game across the country. They lead the nation by averaging nearly 12 threes per game. They can get the hot hand. They can keep that game close. They're not winning outright, but they're going to lose by less than 16. Arkansas, I'm taking the Razorbacks and giving 8.5 points against Colgate. Colgate, everyone's talking about their record and how great they are. They played 5 teams all year. They played 5 teams to get to the NCAA tournament based on their schedule. 5-11 Holy Cross, 7-11 Boston, 6-11 Loyola, and then it was 5-7 Bucknell that they scored 105 points on. The Razorbacks, meanwhile, all of their 6 losses to teams in the NCAA tournament. They can get up and run with anyone. I'm taking the Razorbacks minus 8.5 today against Colgate.
Arkansas also red hot coming into the tournament. I think 8 of their last 9 they won, excluding the SEC tournament loss. So. Yep. That's a good one. It's weird, though, how people are viewing Arkansas as this team that's going to get eliminated quickly, even though they're one of the hotter teams in the tournament.
You go, Chad.
Yeah, so I'm going with the Gators. I'm going to go from the early tips on through the early afternoon with mine. They went from a 1-point favorite to a 1-point underdog against Virginia Tech. First tip of the day. This is typically the most exciting game of the day because everyone's ready for the tournament to be here. That game tips, everyone's going to be watching. We're going to be watching here at Old Smoky in Yeehaw, 6th and Peabody. You should join us if you're in Nashville. I'm going Gators outright, money line to win against Virginia Tech. One thing to watch in this game, Omar Payne, will he play? There is some speculation that he may be serving some sort of punishment suspension for the elbow on John Fulkerson that has not been announced or may not be announced. You just may not see him play in this game. So that's something to watch because he is a contributor off the bench for Florida. I still like the Gators. I like Mike White's system. I like how they defend. Teams that defend well typically do well in this tournament because that's the great equalizer. When your shots aren't falling, if you've got great defense, you can hang around. Virginia Tech, a good offensive team, but I think the Gators get it done. Colgate and Arkansas. This is one similar to when we talked about Michigan State yesterday. Whenever everyone starts talking about one thing, and with us on this show and others, it was Michigan State and Tom Izzo's success in the tournament. They're going to beat UCLA. They're going to beat BYU. They're going to make a run because they got hot late. What happened? They lost in overtime in the first 4 to UCLA.
They airballed the jumper.
The first thing that everyone talks about with Colgate and Arkansas, boy, these teams, this is going to be first one to 120 is going to win this game. They're going to go out there and light up the scoreboard. It's not going to happen. They're going to be cold shooting. They're not going to reach the 160.5 points of the over-under. I'm going under on Colgate, Arkansas. It's not going to be the shootout everyone hopes to see. That's a lot of points. I like the under in Colgate, Arkansas. I like the Razorbacks winning, much like Hutton, but I'm taking the under on Colgate, Arkansas. And finally, this is an early afternoon tip. I love the Red Raiders of Texas Tech for a lot of reasons. Utah State, impressive resume, lots of wins. 4 points, not a lot for Texas Tech in that game. I like Texas Tech covering the 4 against Utah State. That is my parlay.
That's terrific. And this is terrific because we're going to hit 9 different games.
Oh, perfect.
And that's not pre-planned. That is the beauty of OutKick 360. Mine are
Let's hear your winner, Paul.
Mine are not in the order of time by any means. And by the way, you made convincing cases for all those games. I'll go lay those 2 parlays right now. Baylor, giving 24.5. Look, this is big boys versus little kids. Baylor versus Hartford. Baylor beat Nova, beat Kansas, beat West Virginia. They have a great defense. You know what their issue is? They're great at offensive rebounding. You know what their issue is? They're not that reliable from the free throw line. You know how much free throws are going to be a factor against Hartford? Not at all.
What do you know about the city of Hartford?
Not
being
at
a
all.
northeastern
Well,
guy?
I flew
What
into
do you know?
Hartford many times to go to ESPN,
Right.
insurance capital of the United States. West Hartford's a cool town with lots of nice like pizza joints, bars, and stuff like that. It's where Dan Patrick's based.
Okay.
It's fine. It's on its way to New Britain,
Is it
Connecticut.
like a small town? Is it a big
Yeah,
area?
it's a small town.
Okay.
Yeah.
For free throws.
On the way from Hartford, no, they're going to need to hit some free throws. It's not going to matter.
They're gonna need to get to
on
the
the way
line
from
early and
Hartford
often.
to Bristol from ESPN. I used to drive by New Britain, Connecticut, where my siblings were all born and where my dad worked for 12 years. Little Kuharski family history. They're going to cover 24.5, no problem. Wisconsin plus 1.5 over North Carolina. This is my Big Ten thing. I'm sticking with it. Wisconsin beat Loyola, beat Louisville, beat Michigan State. Less impressive than it was a day ago. They hold people to 42.1%. They shoot roughly the same. Wisconsin always defensive team. I think they'll give North Carolina problems. Georgia Tech is going to lose to Loyola Chicago by more than 4.5. Moses Wright, this hasn't gotten a lot of attention, I don't feel like. He's a 6'9" guy. He's out for Georgia Tech. In the last 6 games for the Yellow Jackets, 23.5 points, 10 rebound average. He's out. He would have contained Cameron Krutwig.
Yeah.
Sorry, my notes are sloppy. Krutwig.
He's got a great mustache.
So
That's what you
Cameron,
know about him.
Cameron Krutwig's got
Sweet
the potential
stash.
to go off. Loyola, I think, is the top scoring D in the country. They're top 50 scoring offense. And we saw Porter Moser a couple of years ago. Very good coach.
What's the over-under for Sister Jean on the screen
She's
today?
going to be there.
Way
She
too much.
has
She's
announced
got-
that she'll be
yeah,
there.
she's had her vaccine and everything. Look, I don't like overplayed storylines, so it was cute at the beginning. I'm over her now.
You're over?
Yeah.
You want her to die?
Yeah, so I don't know what kind of odds I don't want.
Go on record. Paul,
do, no.
Paul feels like Sister
No.
Jean's done enough in this life, and it's time for her to go to her heavenly home. Is
Look,
what Paul
Is
said.
Nance there?
I'm not too.
Is that Nance's
I
game?
have no idea. I'm not above saying there are some people I wouldn't mind suffering a painless death,
A painless death.
but she's not one. And I'm
Of
saying
course
that.
not.
I'm saying that sarcastically. I got plus 516. You guys know what your odds are? I'm curious about that. Who took the most risk there with their $50 guarantee?
Oh, I'm not sure. I did not see that
Let's
part.
hit that again before we're
I've
done.
got to check.
We'll preview the SEC matchups as well. Plus, we're going to get Clay Travis's take on his perfect parlay for today through FanDuel as we get set for the OutKick VIP watch party here at 6th and Peabody. It's OutKick 360. Clay Travis joins us next. Head to FanDuel, place your bets, your top parlays, all the picks, FanDuel.com/OK360. Glad you're with us. OutKick 360 on the OutKick OTT network. We are live, about to get going for the VIP watch party that takes place here at 6th and Peabody in Nashville, alongside Chad Withrow and Paul Kuharski. I'm Jonathan Hutton. Clay Travis joins us, fresh off the slopes in Colorado.
I didn't get on the slopes. I don't do. I hit a tree about a decade ago and decided that skiing and snowboarding was not for me. My wife is outstanding at it, and my kids are rapidly becoming snow geniuses, I guess, in some way. But yeah, we just got back from Utah last night.
You hang at the
So
lodge?
what are you doing while they're doing
I pretty much work. That's what I do, no matter where I am.
I heard you were told not to work.
To some extent, yeah. I mean, I put in too many hours. I don't think there's any doubt.
You were pulled by a dog sled at one point, and you claimed that the dogs loved
Dogs
it.
The dogs did love it. I mean, the
Yeah.
dogs were really happy. I'd never been on a dog
I thought
sled
that was a
before.
disclaimer for PETA.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like,
no.
I talked to the
dogs-
dogs beforehand, and they loved it. I promise
the
that this
dogs
is not
are bred
abuse.
for it. I will tell you that they were ecstatic.
They
to
looked like they were
officially
having
be
fun.
Underway.
They really did.
And it was a lot of fun. I'm watching this feed. This is a really good job that they've done setting you guys up, and just reminding everybody that at 11, right, the doors officially open for everybody. At 10, the OutKick VIPs get in. We're going to do a meet and greet here in just a little bit, so I'm excited about that. Obviously excited about the NCAA tournament being back after 2 years of absence, and I can't wait to start to have a little bit of Las Vegas feel for the city of Nashville and state of Tennessee in terms of just being able to bet on any game at any point in time.
Who should people be betting the farm on? in
I
today's
would
game?
take Oregon State. It's my favorite bet of the day. Plus 8.5. I think it's up to FanDuel.com/Clay. Get $50 free bet if you're in the state of Tennessee right now.
Clay is a noted Rick Barnes hater.
I
That's
just
why he's taking this
don't
bet.
have any faith in this Tennessee offense to consistently be able to score. And if you can't, if I feel like there's going to be a 5 or 6 minute drought, I don't know how you don't take Oregon State with an opportunity to cover that number. We'll actually be live doing Fox Bet Live during that game, which is just brutal if somebody really cares about. Obviously, I want Tennessee to win, but I love that play in terms of getting that bet in on Oregon State.
I look at that game. Oregon State preseason picked last in their conference. They heat up at the right time and they win.
Yeah.
Tennessee, I thought got going again though. Guard play and defense. That's what everyone preaches in the tournament. Tennessee can play that style.
I don't know if they have a point guard. And that's my biggest concern for Tennessee, because I think the reason why the offense disappears at times is they don't have somebody who can efficiently get them into the offense. Santiago Vescovi is a good, I think, kind of off-ball player at times. I don't think he's proven that he can be a high-caliber point guard.
VJ Bailey's not a point guard.
Yeah, at all.
Josiah Jordan-James is their best point guard in
And they
crunch
tried-
time because he just gets the ball up the court.
They tried to give the ball to Keon Johnson and give him a chance to make plays, but he just turns the ball over too much. And so I think Springer and Johnson can get hot. I'm sure they will at some point, make some tough mid-range jumpers. They're not outside shooters, and ultimately I think that Oregon State will cover. I think Tennessee will find a way to win, and I'm curious to see what would happen potentially against Oklahoma State in the next round. But that's where I would go as my favorite pick.
How many 1 seeds do you have in your Final Four?
I brought my bracket in here because I got to get my picks in. I've got 3, which is pretty boring.
Same.
But,
Me too.
Me too.
But I think if you look, and I've got Florida State as kind of the outlier there.
Clay, you and I have the same Final Four.
Oh, that's
I have
probably.
Florida State, and
Who's
that's
surprised
it.
that?
Yeah,
Who's
that's-
surprised that Chad would copy?
Once again, though, just
not
like
me.
we didn't check each other on
Yeah.
the parlays today, I had no idea. Clay just now filled us out, but I have the same
I'm
Final
suspect.
Four.
Yeah, you know, what I would say in general is we've seen so far in the world of sports, everybody thought maybe the COVID stuff was going to create chaos. Instead, the best teams have typically ended up being even more reliable bets than they would have been in past. I mean, you think about the Dodgers, best team in major leagues, they win the World Series. Whether you love or hate LeBron James,
The Lakers.
Lakers were the best team and certainly the best leader. The Bucks have the best leader in the history of the NFL and the best quarterback in the history of the NFL going up against the best current team, the Chiefs, in the Super Bowl. Bucks found a way to win at home. You've got the Tampa Bay Lightning, who were the best team in the NHL, and clearly Alabama Crimson Tide, who were the best team in college football. And all of those teams, I feel like, found a way to win. And I think discipline has mattered more than it ordinarily would. We'll see whether that ends up being the case. But honestly, I think if the Zags go on and win, It's one of the great stories in the history of college basketball, and I feel like it's so underrated that they could finish 32-0, same record as 76 Indiana Hoosiers.
How uncommon is it that the number 1 overall seed in a tournament is the fan favorite? Right? Everyone loves Mark Few.
Yeah.
It would be the first undefeated team since Indiana.
In 76.
kinda
And it's Gonzaga.
And it should be a monster story, and I feel like it's kind of slid under the radar a bit because the West Coast Conference doesn't have a lot of big games. BYU is the only other really ascendant team in that conference right now. And those games are played so late on the West Coast that a lot of times East Coast media or people waking up in the majority of the country, I think the stat is, it's kind of a crazy stat, 80% of people live in the Eastern time zone or in the Central time zone. And so it makes sense a lot of times when you see these West Coast teams argue, hey, we're being overlooked. Yeah, that's accurate. You are, because a lot of people go to bed. East Coast bias isn't hating the West Coast. It's just people go to bed.
Yeah, and unless you hate Jesuits for some reason,
Yeah.
no one hates Gonzaga.
That's right.
So everyone's all in on Gonzaga for
That's
that
right.
reason. It's not like a Duke or Kentucky where you hate them. So I'm all in on the Zags this year also. Clay, are you pleased with your hire through 1 week?
Yeah,
So far on
look, I
OutKick
mean,
360?
yeah. I'm just excited about all the things that are going on at OutKick on a day-to-day basis. I mean, one reason why I work so many hours is because there's so many different things going on. I'm kind of wearing multiple hats where I do 3 hours of radio. I've got the daily television show. I usually do the Periscope and the Facebook show. That's roughly, whatever it is, 5 hours almost of live content that I put out every single day. And then we manage a lot more. But the OutKick audience is just massive. Sports gambling is such a positive overall sort of, I would say, jet fuel on the growth of the company in general. There are 10 states that have sports gambling right now: Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, West Virginia, Colorado, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Tennessee, Michigan, and Virginia. I think I just hit them all. And already I can see, and I bet you guys can see, I'm sure Paul can because he's covered sports for a long time, what I said and have believed for a long time is there's basically been a couple of transformative events in most of our lives that have changed the way we write, talk, and cover sports. One was cable. Because for people out there who might be watching this or listening to this, when you were young, you might have to go to the newspaper or you might have to go to the radio to actually listen to see who won a game. And that's almost crazy for anybody who's a kid today. And I think the second one is fantasy sports, because a lot of people talk about the NFL and the new television deal that they just signed, officially announced yesterday. That was what changed the NFL trajectory forever, because instead of just caring about your favorite team, now you had a reason to care about every game, players in every game. And I think sports gambling is the third. So I think, and I'm not sure that there's ever going to be another one in my life. I guess you could argue streaming, as Amazon now has got Thursday Night Football. But I think the three things that have changed sports the most in my life: rise of cable, the fantasy sports, and now sports gambling. And I think what you're going to see with sports gambling is it's going to have a truly transformative effect in the way that people cover sports and in the integration of the game itself in terms of how people are gambling and everything else.
We're going to see the networks embrace it a lot more too.
I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, Fox Sports just got exclusive, large partnership with NFL. Like every NFL team has done it. And I think here in Nashville, where we are, the Titans partnership with MGM had a massive impact on their overall share of the audience. I think every individual team is going to have their own deal. And I really do think that it is going to be, it's going to be amazing to watch the way that gets integrated, to the extent that I think there will soon be opportunities to watch games entirely from a gambling perspective, where instead of sitting down and hearing the voice of God, so to speak, of these Tony Romos and Jim Nances calling games, I think you'll be able to sit down and watch a streamed version of the game that's entirely focused on gambling.
Clay, you have a mailbag every week.
Yeah.
It's very popular at OutKick. I want to do sort of an on-air version of the mailbag of frequently asked questions we get about our show and about OutKick, okay?
Yeah.
OutKick VIPs.
Yeah.
You're hosting a VIP event coming up here in 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Here at 6th and Peabody at 10 a.m. A lot of people were thinking, oh, we have to pay to be a VIP to watch your show or hear your show, which they don't have to. Explain the VIP program and the perks that come with it, like an event like today.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, one of the ways, there are many different ways that a company can make money today. One of the ones that I think is going to become more and more popular is doing events. And obviously COVID has messed up that in a big way. But if you want to be able to come and have exclusive access to people who work at OutKick, if you want to be able to comment on our articles, call into my radio show, and maybe also setting it up where you can call in on your show in the near future, if you want to be able to come to these events, all of those things are all rolled into the VIP package. And I think increasingly we will put more and more things behind the VIP wall as we are continuing to add more and more talent and more people. And I think it's a pretty incredible value given all of those propositions. And so it's a substantial part of our business for people who are the most diehard of the OutKick community. And right now, I think you get an autographed copy of my book as a part of that. We have monthly subscriptions, we have yearly subscriptions. And I think that has been something that people are really enjoying. Also an OutKick VIP message board where people can interact with each other. So to me, I mean, we're never going to be The Athletic, which puts basically everything behind a paywall. I don't believe in that. But I do think that we can be a place where we're going to do live events. I mean, just me for the VIPs. I've done events, and again, most of this is pre-COVID. But we did Washington D.C., we did L.A., we did Houston, we did Atlanta, we did obviously Nashville, Memphis, Birmingham, and probably more. New York City, Vegas. Like all the Vegas, all those places. We've had events where people could come and hang out. And I think they're going to get bigger and better. And last night we had an award we gave away. I think something like 10 or 20,000 people signed up to try to win dinner with me and you guys. And we had a good time at the dinner last night.
So right now we're starting out as a 2-hour show. It's going to eventually grow. What was your vision with this and how things will grow?
Well, what I want to do, so this may be a crazy idea, but when I started OutKick, I didn't really ever conceive of us being able to compete in the opinion space with everybody. But I think what is happening, if you look at I talked about the technological trajectory of sports and the 3 big events that are going on. A fourth that I would add, and this isn't unique to sports, however, is the decline of the cable and satellite bundle, which obviously is going to have a big impact on sports in general. But streaming and television are basically coming together. And so what I think is going to happen as streaming and television come together is there isn't really an advantage for an ESPN when it comes to sports opinion. Now, they're going to have the rights. They're going to pay $2 billion for the NFL or CBS or everybody else. But to me, there's no reason why OutKick can't be every bit as compelling when it comes to sports opinion from 6 a.m. in the morning to 7 p.m. on the East Coast when there are no games being played. So I think my strategy is for us to build out a potentially 13-hour live daily Monday to Friday, maybe eventually expanding into the weekends before the games kick off. Not while the games themselves are necessarily going on, but while everybody is talking about the games. And also, look, OutKick is a sports and opinion site. So we learned, I think pretty easily, the audience that likes me doesn't really care what I'm talking about. They want to hear my take on the world. I mean, our audience exploded when there were no sports for 3 months. So I think there's a desperate craving out there for a non-ESPN voice in the opinion space. And so I think OutKick can be, in many ways, that voice.
We're thrilled for the expansion.
Yeah,
And people, I mean, honestly, Clay, people thought when we started on Monday, like that's the polished, finished product. And
yeah.
The reminder is this is the launching pad for where we're going.
What I always say is, perfection is the enemy of good. And I think that's a stolen quote from Mark Zuckerberg when they were doing Facebook. But if you sit around trying to make something perfect, then you never actually do it. And so what I would like to do is, break things and move fast. And if something works, add more steam to it. If it fails, okay, like we can iterate quickly. And I think the advantage of being the size of an OutKick company is we're a speedboat. And some people are more comfortable on aircraft carriers. That's fine, I understand. But an aircraft carrier has to make really far in advance decisions in order to adjust the direction in which it's going. A speedboat can zoom around an aircraft carrier and make really quick, adroit decisions. And I think that's what OutKick is able to do in the sports media landscape in a way, frankly, that a lot of other companies can't.
Well, you work with good people because we came into this expecting a lot more speed bumps.
Well,
in the first week. And look, nothing's perfect, but I mean, I think our setup here today at Old Smoky looks great. Our setup in studio looks great. We've been on air when we're supposed to be on air. It's it's gone off from that respect flawless. So that's
Yes.
That's a good start in that regard.
Some people would say, I think we were talking last night. I'm kind of fascinated by the concept of the adjacent possible, right? Like we were at dinner talking about like how do you decide what to do next? And I think when you have some success, your adjacent possible expands. So when I started OutKick almost a decade ago, the idea that you could do an all-day video streaming podcast audio universe was crazy, right? I didn't have that ability. I could sit down and write articles and hopefully be entertaining at OutKick. Well, as we've grown, now I think our adjacent possible has become so much more substantial in that respect. And so the idea of being able to have somebody sit down and say, hey, I'd rather watch OutKick today than watch ESPN, I think that's a reality. It's not like we're going to have necessarily millions of people, but ESPN doesn't have millions of people during the day. Yep. A lot of that stuff I think is going to fade, and I would rather be in the streaming space than I would in the cable space right now. And the other thing is giving people so many different ways to listen, right? When I did local radio, one of the things that was unique is they could hear you, but then it vanished forever. Like there's almost no tape, right? And now people have gotten to the point where they're like my kids. They expect any show that's ever been made in the history of mankind to be available to them at that exact moment. And so I think what we're starting to do is, hey, you can find us on audio. You can find us on video. You can watch us live. You can go back and watch us streamed, at later hours in your house. And so I just think that's an incredibly compelling value proposition because it gives the consumer the choice of how to enjoy and experience a product.
And radio is going to be a part of this also.
Yeah.
With us.
I think, again, there will be every possible way that you can imagine to consume your show, my show, any shows that are out there that we're doing. We will have that ability.
Clay Travis, check out OutKick the show, which is what returns today, or are you doing that next week?
No, I'll come back on because the games
Monday
are going on. We're doing this event, and then I got to get back out. I've got a couple of meetings. One of the challenges of my schedule now is trying to balance everything.
You will be live on FS1 today, though.
Yeah, we got TV. So I'll be live from 3 to 3:30 Central.
How torn are you, UT-wise, rooting for your team versus the bet?
I would, if I lose, the money that I bet on Oregon State to cover the 8.5, I'll be like the best money I spent, right? I think there's emotional hedging that goes on sometimes when people really care because
it's hedging your happiness.
Yeah, look, if you told me right now, hey, how much would you spend of your cash for Tennessee to make a Final Four run this year? I'd probably cut a check to charity for $100,000 right now. Like that's how much it would be worth to me for all the time that I've spent 40 years or whatever of rooting for the University of Tennessee. I would right now, I think, cut a check for $100,000 if you told me Tennessee will go to the Final Four. And there are people who make infinitely more money than me. I've always thought this is kind of funny, and when they had discovered oil in Texas, like some people are like Bill Gates, I'm going to eradicate malaria, right? Bill Gates makes all that money, goes into trying to make the world a better place, pours all his resources into that. The Texas oil guys were just like, we're going to have the best damn high school football team ever, and we're going to, that's sort of the story of SMU, right? And we're going to buy every player we possibly can. So it is funny to me to think about when sudden wealth arrives, how some people respond to
it. The T. Boone's picking approach, right? At Oklahoma
You
State.
just get filthy rich, and
joy.
Your universe, even though you have these billions of dollars, is still like, hey, this is the high school I root for. This is it's very parochial and provincial in that respect. And so one guy, Bill Gates, is trying to cure malaria, and in the SWAC, they were just like, we're buying every good player there is. Yeah.
Somebody get Eric Dickerson on the line. I got $100,000 for him.
I'm buying a Corvette dealership, so we never have to worry about players for the rest of all time. So there's a little bit of that, I think. If I ever had $1 billion, I'd probably pay for a lot of players.
Hey, man, thanks for OutKick 360.
I'm excited for this.
It's been a great debut week for us, at least from our vantage point.
Yeah, I'm surprised you guys are standing up, by the way. I would definitely want to be sitting down. That is
there's a crotch shot in the other studio.
Yes.
If you really want to see us sitting down,
We're giving people
it's
a
quite
break.
the angle.
Also, for a man, it's much more natural to stand and not sit. There's no real comfortable way for a man to sit
I
on
disagree.
camera.
I'm very good at sitting. I like. Some people are like, I want a standing desk. That's like been trendy or whatever else. Like I would always prefer. Yeah, I would always prefer to sit. But anyway, so people can come out at 11. This place opens up for everybody.
That's right.
And you guys are how long are you staying? Are you watching the
All day.
the
All day.
University of
Tennessee,
Tennessee game?
Yeah.
sure,
The Tennessee game is at 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central here. And so I'll be doing my television show while that Tennessee game is on. But then I'm going to come back afterwards, and I'll be here for a few hours. After this, I'm going to go talk to the VIPs now.
Enjoy.
All right, boys, knock it out. I'll see you.
Clay Travis has been with us on OutKick 360. We're going to wrap up the hour, and then we get to the Tennessee Power Hour. We're going to talk Tennessee Volunteers and the matchup against Oregon State. We get into a variety of topics with the Titans as well, and we get you set on all of the SEC matchups throughout the opening round of the tournament. It's all straight ahead on OutKick 360. the Tennessee Power Hour on OutKick 360, the OutKick OTT network, alongside Chad Withrow and Paul Koharski. I'm Jonathan Hutton, and the great cast here with us, as always, Lance Lee. We have Jacob Swanson, the bath salt bandit, and the chairman of the board, David Reed, making the show happen for us as we broadcast live at 6th and Peabody, where we're going to have the NCAA watch party going on all day. Clay is here. He's meeting with OutKick VIPs for the first hour that we're open, and then open to the public here at 6th and Peabody starting at 11 a.m., Chad. It's going to be a great day.
That's right. It's going to be an awesome day. We've already got over 100 VIPs here in the house for a special VIP gathering, but it's open to the public starting at 11 a.m. You've got tip-off coming at 11:15 for the first game, and that's 12:15 Eastern. Come on down, hang out with us. We'll be here watching games all day. This is a terrific venue. We're in just one small compartment of Old Smoky Yeehaw. You see this behind us here? It's awesome. There's a big outdoor area, another huge indoor facility with an enormous television. You can watch all the games. Come hang out with us. Food and drink specials. We're going to be here partying, having a good time. Come hang out with us today for this watch party.
What's the first drink? I'm already kind of contemplating.
I think it needs to come from the wall behind us at some point. We'll decide. We'll get the go-ahead from Walter at Old Smoky to pick which jar we're going to consume first.
I've got to pace. Got to pace.
It's going to be a great day here at Yeehaw Brewing Company, Old Smoky, Tennessee Moonshine, and of course, 6th and Peabody. We gave our perfect parlays in the first hour. If you missed that, you can go back and watch, and you can bet along with us through FanDuel.com.
Winner.
FanDuel.com/OK360 is where you can place your bets today as we get to the opening round of the NCAA tournament. Tennessee, the Volunteers, taking on Oregon State. Tip-off at 3:30 later this afternoon. It's actually the final game, I believe, Chad, of the morning slate, or the first slate of the first round, before we get to the afternoon slate with Oklahoma State and Liberty. But the Vols in that 5-12 matchup, we know how this goes traditionally. Normally it's a 50-50 split on the 12 seeds that upset the 5. I can't help but look into Oregon State and think they got hot during their tournament. Tennessee also started to heat up at the right time. Tennessee, top to bottom, is the better overall basketball team.
There's no doubt that Tennessee's better than Oregon State. Talent-wise, their record, everything about them, when you look head-to-head with the resumes, it's a totally different, right? I mean, Tennessee is the better basketball team. There's no doubt about it. Tennessee got going at the absolute right time with the last 3 games of the season. Obviously, Oregon State did too. Interesting enough, the last time Tennessee was a 5 seed, they scored 121 points in that game against Long Beach State. I was there in Columbus, Ohio, covering that tournament. They made a run to the Sweet 16. So Tennessee has done well from this 4-5 seed spot historically. I think Tennessee gets it done today. The one variable, well, there's 2. 3-point shooting. Oregon State has gotten hot from 3. Ethan Thompson, great shooter, really good player for Oregon State, one to watch. And Tennessee's got to win with small ball. John Fulkerson's not going to play today. I would be shocked. He's been in concussion protocol. The surgery he had on his eye is not the issue. I think he could play with a mask even after that orbital bone surgery. Yves Pons had the same surgery a year ago and played the next day. So that's not the problem. The problem was he suffered a concussion with that elbow from Omar Payne, and he's not out of protocol yet. So that's a big thing to watch for Tennessee. Can they rebound well enough and defend well enough? I think the way Oregon State plays, it lends itself to not being exposed in the post without John Fulkerson, but they've also got a 7-footer in Roman Silva that they can go down to. So that's going to be one thing to watch. But no, I like Tennessee's chances in this game if they show up and play well and can get things going on offense. And we know it's going to be Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer that's going to have to get things going offensively.
How much of a spiritual loss, so to speak, of Fulkerson, who was down, hurting them, then reemerge, was part of this reemergence you're talking about that got them going again. Then you see him go down. Then they fell apart against Alabama without him down the surge. And all the emotion that he had with the last game at Thompson Bowling, all of that. I don't get the sense that they're always the most emotionally together team, and I wonder if there's a tipping point without him That has me concerned.
Yeah, it's not the team of 2 years ago, the team that was so together. Talk about an emotionally together team. Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, Jordan Bone. That team was together. You knew they were
Williams
going
was
for
a
a
rock.
push, and they lost that great game and close game in overtime to Purdue in the Sweet 16. Purdue, by the way, then went on to lose, I think, in overtime to Virginia, who won it all 2 years ago. This team is not that way. Fulkerson's not a big vocal leader for Tennessee, but I think you're right, Paul. There is a presence. Everyone likes him. He works his tail off. The players respect him for that reason. So I do think that there's an emotional drop-off with him not there. But I also believe that they're better offensively when he's not in the game. And what I mean by that is they go more into Tennessee's got to go quick. They don't have a good half-court offense. They're not a good half-court offensive team. And when Fulkerson is out, it is Keon Johnson getting a rebound, and he is looking to score.
Yep.
He is driving. Same with Jaden Springer. I think when they get going that way, they're dishing out to Vescovi, who can get some open looks. I think they're a better offensive team. I think they're a worse defensive team, though. So that's the one thing. Can they cover the perimeter is going to be a big key because Oregon State has been hot shooting. Can they hit some of their open shots? It's obviously going to be a factor for any team in this tournament. Oregon State shoots over 75% from the free throw line. You need to stay out of that situation. If you're Tennessee, stay out of foul problems. But again, we can sit and dissect all we want. It comes down to Tennessee. They're the better basketball team. If they show up and play well, if they show up and play C-plus level basketball for them, I think they win a close game.
See, I hate that
if they
there's a
play
question.
B-level basketball, even if Oregon State's at an A, I think Tennessee covers the spread in this game. Anything below a C-plus, they're in trouble, and they're probably going to go home early.
But that's what I hate about them. There's the if they show up question.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be, for a team with that talent, shouldn't be a if they show up question. I get that there's a if they show up question for virtually
It's not
everybody. Given the circumstances, given the COVID, given everybody in Indianapolis, given the weird thing where you've been in a hotel room, we're hearing stuff about you're not really getting good food and you're living on snacks and you can't go for a walk. I think there's a little bit of that factor for everybody. But I think you'd agree Tennessee has it in a larger degree because it's been an unpredictable team.
Well, I can count maybe one or two times this year where I would say Tennessee, from an effort standpoint, didn't fully bring it. And in maybe not just physical effort, but mental.
Performance. Right,
yeah, but it's less of that and more of just play and consistency.
Play like you can play.
Well, here's the frustrating thing with Tennessee this year, I think. They have been the best defensive team in the SEC. The stats hold out. Every Ken Pom efficiency rating, they're the best defense in the SEC. But they have games where they slack off on defense. If they bring defensive intensity to this game, start to finish, that's going to give them some offense.
That's
also.
why I love Pons.
They can lock down. He's an X factor.
Yeah, and if he starts blocking shots, it changes the other side's mentality. I just love a guy like that, even if he's limited on the other side. That's got to get in your head if you're Oregon State or somebody else, especially if you haven't played against that recently, right? And all of a sudden the arm's coming over your head from behind and swatting something away when you thought you had a clear route to the basket. I mean, that's a huge X factor to me. I just love him so much defensively.
He's fun. The Tennessee fans, if this is the last game
Fun
to see
defense.
Yves Pons, then take it in because defensively he is fun to watch with some of the things he can do physically, because this will be the last time you see him in a Tennessee uniform.
Fans are going to be thrilled if this team makes a Sweet 16 run.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, but where do we set expectations for this Tennessee team? Preseason, we know that we were thinking this is a team that has the Elite Eight Final Four type run because they got off to a great start. Then they went through that lull where you weren't even sure if they were going to make it out of the first round at times when you started to match them up with some of the better teams and middle of the pack teams, conference to conference. And then they went on that run as Fulkerson started to play better down the stretch. The team gelled and played more defensively, as Chad's alluding to. And now you have this sense that, okay, maybe they're back in rhythm to a point where we can't expect them to get past Oregon State. We can't expect them to play well against Oklahoma State or Liberty, for that matter, in the second round and make a Sweet 16 run. But we're not going to be surprised with either result, really.
Yeah. Well, so all year it was one on, one off. I mean, when they got into the thick of the SEC schedule, you could set your clock to it. Tennessee would look great in one game. They'd beat Kansas by 25. and they'd go out and lay an egg in the next game against Ole Miss, I think it was. They'd play great on the Saturday and then play awful during the week. They'd play great during the week and then awful on Saturday. I mean, they were a 500 basketball team once you got to the middle of the conference season. But Hutton, to your point, they've played 3 straight good games. They played well against Florida in a home win. They played well against Florida again in the SEC tournament, winning easily, a team that's a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. And they should have beat a number 2 seed in the tournament in Alabama in the SEC. I mean, they were right there and played well in that game. I'm not saying they played well. So now the odds are, can they play a 4th straight good game? Are they on to something? Or are you betting, we're going back to odds and FanDuel and everything going on, or are you betting on the inconsistent Tennessee team to show up and think, boy, they played 3 straight good games. Now we're expecting a dud in the NCAA tournament. I tend to believe they figured some things out in how they need to play. And I think also Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer decided to take over. Now, it's a different stage. You ask any player who's played in the NCAA tournament, it's different. You think that, it's just another basketball game. It feels different when you take that stage and you're playing in the tournament. Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer, the 2 most important players for Tennessee, have never played. And they're freshmen, right? So that's another X factor. How do they step up in the spotlight? Are they a big storyline, or do they play like freshmen in the NCAA tournament?
I think Oklahoma State, too, is going to be very, very tough if they get to that game. I think if they win one and play well against Oklahoma State and lose, to me, that would be.
I think Tennessee fans would be okay with that. I think the one thing that will be very, very disappointing for every Tennessee fan is losing as a 5 seed in the first round to an Oregon State team that, yes, they're hot at the right time and they went on a run in the Pac-12 tournament. They're not that good. They're not Tennessee. So that would be very disappointing. I'm not saying it can't happen. It certainly could if Tennessee doesn't play well, but that would be very disappointing to Tennessee fans. I think win a game and, like you said, Paul, show up, play well against Oklahoma. I think they have a good shot against Oklahoma State if they get to that point, but play well against them. I think Tennessee fans will be okay with that outcome, making it out of the first round.
We have 2 SEC matchups right out of the gate to kick off or tip off the tournament today. Florida as a 7 taking on Virginia Tech, the 10 seed. The Hokies play solid defense. Florida, meanwhile, they're actually the underdog in this game. That switched late last night, I believe.
Yep.
They're getting a point. Florida can really heat up from 3. They can shoot well overall. We know that Trey Mann is the leader, is the engine of what Florida does. 11-15 South Region winner gets Ohio State or Oral Roberts in that 2-15 matchup. But in the 7-10, with the Hokies and the way they play defense, maybe we see the first upset of the tournament from the jump. You like Florida, though.
Vegas, and according to Vegas, it wouldn't even be an upset, right? The 10 seed is favored in this game. I brought it up yesterday, but the 11 seed has actually beaten the 6 seed more than the 6 seeds beating the 11 seed in the last 4 years. That kind of shows you how the tournament is balanced out. For a while, it was, pick 1, 5, 12, right? Now you could pick 2, 12 or 5, and would not be surprised. So 7-10 is definitely a toss-up game. I like Florida in this game. I like Mike White's system, defensive first, the way they shoot the 3. I love Trey Mann as a player. He can do absolutely everything. I like them in tournament settings. I think Florida is one of those teams that when they get to the tournament can make noise. Every time they get to that level, I think they're going to make some noise in this tournament. I think it starts with Virginia Tech.
Arkansas in the 3-14 matchup. That's tip-off number 2 of the morning. They're taking on Colgate. Colgate going for their first ever NCAA tournament win, and they are the belle of the ball. Whenever the brackets were announced, Clark Kellogg and everyone on CBS immediately, this is going to be a run-and-gun, fast-paced matchup. Arkansas, Colgate, get ready to take the over. Get ready for 91-90, type of final score. Look, Arkansas, all 6 of their losses have come to teams that are in this NCAA tournament. Colgate has played 5 teams all season long. Not their fault. It's due to the COVID restrictions and everything that they faced. But, yes, they put up points. They average 86 points per game. They rebound the ball really well, 30 rebounds. They're going to push the pace. But Arkansas is a team that can keep up with that. And they can run away with it if Colgate doesn't make early shots.
And Arkansas,
the Razorbacks are winning this game.
Arkansas is significantly more athletic than Colgate. I mean, this is big basketball school versus upstart hopeful It's the, if they pull an upset, Colgate, they're going to have to play phenomenally well. Their shooting percentage is going to have to be phenomenally high. Arkansas is going to have to shoot poorly, not just because they're well defended, but because they have a bad shooting day. Right? That's the formula for a Colgate to win a game like
It's also interesting. I found it interesting that there's one senior in their starting lineup.
Colgate?
Yeah, normally a team like this has won 13
senior,
straight.
yeah,
You
right.
think it's
4
senior
seniors,
heavy,
yeah.
and this is they've been building to this moment. They're going to return 4 of their 5 starters next year.
Yeah, no, it's
sad tournament for me because teams like this also are, you're usually talking about an Ivy League team like that.
Yep, and they're
no
not
Ivy
playing.
League rep with no Ivy League season.
No, I like Arkansas in this game. I mentioned it earlier as part of my parlay, take the under. I feel like when everyone starts talking about this is going to be a shootout, it's not going to live up to that. I think 160 points is a lot between these two teams in this game. I think the shooting's not going to be where it needs to be. But you're right, Paul. If Colgate's going to pull the upset, the shooting better damn well be where it needs to be for them. And it's going to be a lot of probably contested deep threes in the game that they can hit when they're on, but that's going to be their game plan.
But this is a game we talk about not liking a team advancing into the Sweet 16 that then gets pounded. But today, unless you're from the state of Arkansas, you're a Colgate fan watching the tournament, right?
Right,
of course.
All of these games, you want the little guy to win because it's the fantastic story. It's the thing that goes with Chad's favorite music at the highlight reel after the final on a Monday night in 3 weeks.
Everyone is a fan of the Patriot League today as they tip off against the SEC and Arkansas. And the last time we saw Colgate in the tournament, I believe, Chad, was against Tennessee.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, and
right?
a great game. And Tennessee ended up winning by close to 10, but it was nip and tuck the whole way. And I'm blanking on the player's name, but they had a guard who was terrific in that game from San Antonio, Texas. I remember where he was from, but that was that was what people want to see with Colgate: chucking a lot of threes, getting hot, putting a scare into someone. If they're hot today, they're going to put a scare into Arkansas.
Hey, real quick, on the Ivy League thing. Chad and I were reading an article yesterday about Harvard. I can't remember what year.
1984.
1984 Harvard has the record for free throw shooting percentage. They actually all signed a ball that went to the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. They changed venue, the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. They moved into a better building. They assure them that the ball is in the building, but they also can't find the ball. And so two teams in this tournament have a chance to break that record.
Colorado and Oral Roberts
are
right there to
right
break the record
there.
for the best free throw shooting team of all time.
Wow.
But
82.5% as a team.
Danny Ferry's brother is one of the guys. He was actually the worst shooting guy
And his name?
amongst the regulars.
Bob Ferry.
Bob Ferry.
Which I loved.
But I thought the best thing was he was talking about Pete Carrill, the famous Princeton coach, and an end of game scenario where they needed to foul, and they inbounded the ball, and Carrill said, "Don't foul that guy." And he passed it to the next guy, and Carrill said, "Don't foul that guy either." So they couldn't find somebody that wanted on the charity stripe.
Well, Bob Ferry said, I was a 75% free throw shooter, and I think that Carrill was waiting for the ball to get to me. I was the worst free throw shooter on the court, and I was 75%, and he was the worst free throw shooter on the team that year at 75%.
It's a great story. One of the themes of which is that free throw shooting is finally up.
Yeah.
Nationwide.
The
And
last
we
3
always
years, it's
complain
trending back up.
about how bad free throw shooting is and how ridiculous that is.
By the way, Arkansas and Colgate, the winner will get Texas Tech or Utah State in that 6-11 matchup.
Tough.
Let's roll through the other games for the SEC coming up tomorrow. LSU and St. Bonaventure. Hard for me to pick against LSU with Watford and Smart and Thomas.
The way they just
and
played here.
The
Around
82,
corner.
83 points per game that the Tigers average. But this is an 8-9 matchup. Like it's hard to overlook that. But when I saw LSU play in the SEC tournament, I didn't see an 8 seed. I saw them more like a 5 seed. That's what they appeared to be in Nashville. Chad, how far do you have LSU going?
I had a hard time picking against LSU in round 2 against number 1 seed Michigan. I really am tempted to go with LSU to the Sweet 16 and maybe beyond.
Michigan did not finish well.
You can't find, you mentioned them, Hutton, you can't find a better 4-pack. If you took every team in the tournament and said, go down the list, your top 4 players, you're not going to find better than Cam Thomas, Watford, Mays.
Days.
The group that LSU can put out on the court is better or as good as anyone in this tournament.
Why didn't
So
they play better during the season to be higher than
they had a
are?
bad start in the non-conference. I think was a big part of it. You know, they were good in the SEC throughout the year, but they got off to a rough start. I mean, you could point to any number of reasons. Did they practice a lot with everything going on? I don't know. But they got hot at the right time. They gave Alabama everything they wanted in a great SEC championship. I've got LSU winning. I'm with you on that. I think they win pretty easily. I've got Michigan advancing past them in round 2, but I went back and forth on that and almost picked LSU to win.
LSU deep off the bench as well. St. Bonaventure, not. They don't go very deep off their bench. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock out of the East, 3 o'clock Central. It's Alabama, Iona, Patino against Oates.
I know you're tempted.
I am, but this is Alabama. The winner gets UConn and Maryland. 16.5 is the spread at FanDuel.com right now. John Petty, can he hit another hot streak? Because he's been spotty throughout the season. If he heats up, he can be the storyline of the tournament. That's how good the player is.
This is one of the only times we're going to say Petty on this show. The thing is that Oates is also a very good coach.
He's great.
Right, so he's an up-and-coming coach. He's not.
He's there.
So Patino could outcoach a lot of people in the tournament. I don't think this is one of those people.
Yeah, Rick Pitino, just a quick aside, unbelievable. I mean, the guy is say what you want about personal life, scandal at Louisville, everything else. I don't care. I'm hiring that guy to coach my program because he wins.
Should Indiana hire him?
He is the perfect mix, though, of recruiting, X's and O's. I mean,
glad handling.
He may be the best coach of our generation when you see the different places he's won. And everywhere he goes, he does it at a high level. Just an incredible job with him and Iona.
Should Indiana hire him?
I think there'll be some better options.
I don't think so because of the mess with Kelvin Sampson. I don't know that I bring someone else in with NCAA past.
I mean,
I hire Nate Oates if I'm Indiana. If there's a chance you could hire Nate Oates, that's who I hire. I don't think he's leaving Alabama, but I go after Nate Oates. I think Bama.
They've hired some pretty good coaches, and they've immediately failed.
Yeah.
Indiana, 2 in a row, right?
Archie Miller is surprising that he failed there.
I've
got Bama in the Elite Eight, though, Hutton. I think they're a team that
yeah. I have them in my Final Four.
It's tough to pick against Bama in anything right now. I feel like if you put just a coin in the air and said, who's going to win this coin flip, it's going to be Bama because they win at everything. And that's going to be the case in basketball. It's been the case all year. It will be in this tournament.
Missouri and Oklahoma, 8-9 matchup there. Oklahoma has a player, I believe it's Harmon. I may be wrong. Harmon, who tested positive for COVID this week. So they're down a starter. The thing about Konzo Martin in Missouri, as we well know, their defensive style and his style of play and how he bogs down the pace of play, that typically works early on in a tournament game like this, especially in an 8-9 matchup. Missouri's getting a point as the 9 seed. I think, but I like Oklahoma. I think, though, because of the COVID issues and the way and the style that Missouri plays with Konzo Martin, this is a tight matchup, and I think it's a great basketball game.
Oklahoma won some very tough games. They went on a very good stretch and beat like 3 superior teams back to back to back. If they play like that, they're winning by double digits. I just don't know if you get back to that.
I think Loyola, Chicago, Georgia Tech is the only bad 8-9 matchup, and that's because Moses Wright is out.
Yeah, I think
Loyola wins
Chicago
easily.
is an easy
but the
win.
other games, think of these programs: North Carolina and Wisconsin, Missouri and Oklahoma. LSU, St. Bonaventure. We just talked about in an 8-9. What great 8-9 matchups! I don't trust Konzo Martin teams. I don't trust them in the regular season. I don't trust them in the tournament. I think Missouri has a makeup to be an Elite 8 team. I think when you look at Jeremiah Tillman and Xavier Pinson, they have a dynamic guard and a dynamic big man, and they've got veteran leaders around them. This is a team that could make a run. It reminds me of the Konzo Martin Sweet 16 team at Tennessee that lost a close one to Michigan in Indianapolis. I was there as well, in Indy in the Sweet 16. So I do think this team could do that. I think they have the makeup with veteran leadership to make a run. I just don't trust them enough. If you're going Lon Kruger versus Konzo Martin, from a coaching standpoint, I'm taking Lon Kruger in the first round. So I picked Oklahoma for that reason. But I like Missouri. I like the makeup of their team.
It's a good matchup to watch. That's tomorrow evening as we wrap up round number 1. Coming up, We continue with the Tennessee Power Hour. We'll switch gears. We'll give you the very latest with the Tennessee Titans. They've made some acquisitions over the last 24 hours, some good, some not so good. We'll explain that and give our take on the newest members of the Titans defense next. Well. Duke Turnbow does it again with the bobbleheads.
Guy hooks.
The PK and Chutton bobbleheads from the great Duke Turnbow, season ticket holder for OutKick 360. He's been with us from day one over the last decade. Props, Duke. Appreciate you, man. He's one of the OutKick VIPs here today for the OutKick VIP watch party. We are here at Old Smoky, at Yeehaw, at 6th and Peabody. It's all one massive venue, TVs galore. Place opens up to the public at 11 a.m. You can swing by, grab some great food and drink, and check out all the games that tip off starting at 11:15. Florida Gators get things going right off the tip with Virginia Tech, and then Arkansas Colgate 30 minutes after. Looking forward to all the games there.
Duke is awesome. This bobblehead is incredible. I will say the last bobblehead, someone that saw it said that what they did to my hairline was a war crime. And this one is way more accurate, but also, Hutton, it will only add to Chutton confusion when people see the bobblehead. Because I'm just looking at it from the back profile here, and we look like the same person, which is great because I've always wanted to look like Hutton. So that's good news for me, but it's really going to add to the confusion from people also.
I think the.
But I love it.
I'm pleased.
I think
I'm very pleased.
Chad, are you in purple or white?
I'm in purple, right? Yeah, you have darker hair.
I think the point is we're not supposed to really know.
Yeah.
based
also,
on
who
this.
has darker hair in real life? Chad, right?
No? I think Hutton's got darker hair. We're
So
even
who is
confused
that?
ourselves which one
From
is
behind, it's impossible to tell.
Am I Jonathan?
I know
Or is
who this guy
Jonathan?
is. I know that one.
Yeah, the bald guy, Dr. Evil, you can tell
Handsome
right
man.
away.
Very handsome man. Women love bald guys.
Paul, the latest on Bud Dupree's cap hit, please.
Don't know it.
That came out yesterday. It's about a $5 million cap hit.
Did it?
Yeah.
I didn't see it come up. So sorry.
So which is very reasonable, considering all the reports.
A lot of cap hits that we don't know that aren't going to be big, but Tyson Brilo re-signed, Jayon Brown re-signed. That should be 5.55. Kevin Johnson, a new signee. There are two others off the top of my head. So a lot of cap math still to be completed. They still should have some room. But I'm not thinking, Hut, that they're in the market for a cornerback anymore, veteran cornerback. I'd love to see them go get Fuller, released by Chicago, who would be terrific. But I think right now we're going to see Janoris Jenkins, Christian Fulton, and Kevin Johnson as the slot. And you and I
Kevin
agree.
Johnson is terrible.
Yeah, not a good player.
Terrible.
Here's what the Titans like to do. They do it too much. Kevin Johnson worked in Houston under Mike Vrabel and under Anthony Midget. And they say, here's a guy who had some qualities that we like, who bought into our system, who we know well and we can trust and rely on and everything. And they overweigh that bucket and they underweigh the can he play bucket.
See, he's so bad to me, he's nothing but depth. That's the player that Kevin Johnson, how I would describe him. Like the idea that he's some starter in Mike Vrabel's defense is laughable to me.
Well, I guess
they got considerably worse if that's the case.
Well, I have a strong indication that they're expecting him to start in the slot and replace
Terry
Desmond
Robisky
King.
and Mike Mularkey would scheme game plans going at Kevin Johnson in Houston
And succeed.
with Rashard Matthews.
There's
who's
no way.
speedster.
There's no way he can start.
Well,
It's going to be a
here's
draft
the other
pick
thing.
for someone somewhere else.
Here's the other thing. He's had multiple concussions, knee sprain, foot fracture, wrist fracture, broken foot. So, I mean, you have to be on the field to even have a chance of doing anything. And he's played 67% of the games in his career. So I'm really down on a team that signs, like Will Fuller got signed and some fans were complaining. I said, why do you want Will Fuller? Will Fuller never plays. I'd say the same thing. Even if they think they've got some magic touch on Kevin Johnson and can fix him, first you've got to rubber band him together to have that chance. And so where's your guarantee? The best indicator of your health going forward is your history of health. Are you a durable player or you're not a durable player? Well, he's not been a durable player. So it starts there. Like if you're a reclamation project who's going to have a chance to get better, you've at least got to start where I can count on you to be active on game days. And this guy's only been active on game days 2/3 of the time.
Again, like I view that signing as an option for depth. That cannot be a solution for their secondary.
Well, unfortunately, at this stage,
He's going to be
I
a
think they
problem
think
if he's
he
a
is.
solution right now.
Well, I agree.
I see him as an option to get cut. I mean, honestly, he's a guy you bring in that if it doesn't work out, you just cut him before the season.
I will say
He's not a starter.
I will say what Greg Cosell said the other day with us about Jenkins and Fulton fitting a more man kind of coverage thing. And the league's all man in a way now, right? There aren't many teams playing cover two and a straight zone very much. But Johnson, and again, I agree, I don't like him, but he's viewed as a man guy that gets beat a lot,
yes.
but a man guy. So it's another clear indication to me that they're looking to play a lot of straight up man. Now, I agree, they need somebody better than him to play that straight up man.
They'll have to address that. I mean, that will be a point of emphasis in the NFL draft. Paul, Desmond King signs a one-year contract in Houston. So he departs after the trade acquisition middle of last year, where he came in and while it was nothing great, he was serviceable and good. He was just a solid piece and a guy that came in and helped stop the bleeding.
Yes, he did. Doesn't blitz great off the edge, which they like, and probably better zone-ish than man-ish, and not super fast. I don't know about Johnson's speed either. Did what they needed to do. They needed things to settle down. They were pouring blood, like you're saying, and he helped that at a time where they were absolutely desperate at corner. So time well served. I wouldn't have been surprised if they re-signed him, but if they are in fact looking to be more strictly man, he's not an ideal fit here anymore. But I think Titans fans can say thanks for what he did, because they were falling apart when he came in, and he was well worth the 6th round pick.
What did you think of the pressers yesterday? Who all did you get a chance to actually meet and chat with on Zoom?
We talked to Danico Autry, who's a man of few words, but said the Colts knew what they had. He was asked, the Colts have a lot of cap money, and they didn't re-sign you. What's that say? And he said they knew what they had and what they did, and those games will be special. So he's not pleased with the Colts. You like that kind of, I'm not big on the extra motivation thing, but those 2 games will certainly mean a lot to him. Man of few words. Kendall Lamb, from a media perspective, the entire press corps is rooting for Kendall Lamb to play well enough to be the starting right tackle. Just effervescent, bubbly, fun, thrilled to be here, funny. We're looking for talkers. This
Sounds
guy,
a lot like Isaiah Wilson when he was brought on.
Right.
Great smile, uproarious laughter every time, and just a real jolly fellow.
Jolly.
No.
God, I mean, he'll go on.
We're not talking about
He'll
him.
go on with local stations, and people are just gushing over Isaiah Wilson for months. Boy, this guy just really takes over a room with that jolly laugh, and really brings you in right away. I don't want to hear it.
Acknowledge that.
I know what you're saying. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Acknowledge that he's a better run blocker, takes pride in trying to work on the pass rush. Talked about going against Clowney and Watt and Olivier Vernon and Myles Garrett in practice, and said, as a big guy, wants to be judged as an athlete who can go against some of the best athletes on the football field and stand toe-to-toe with those guys. So has a sense of pride on those things. They re-signed Sambrailo, so maybe that's a right tackle competition. We'll see. Sambrailo did good work in his 5 starts last year, so I would say he deserves to be into a competition. But the fact of the matter is, guys, with the Titans, we've not seen hardly under Mike Vrabel anything that qualifies as a training camp competition. Pretty much.
You're right.
The lineup's set going into training camp, and people are maybe fighting for spots on the roster or depth stuff, but we've not seen an outright starting competition. So if that's one, it'll be, really the first. Yeah. And we also talked to Cox, the new long snapper, who, by the way, got a veteran minimum deal. It's $1.075 million. It only counts $900 something against the cap because of that. cap wrinkle. So it's not like he had offers pouring in. University of Tennessee guy from Memphis who said it was a no-brainer for him. Well, I suspect it's also a no-brainer for him because he got jumped on a minimum deal. So it's not like people were lining up. It's a very good long snapper. But let's pick up on that for a sec. So Pat McAfee put out a thing and talked about the precision of the snap and how much of a bearing it has on the kicker. McAfee, I presume, was a holder when he was a punter also for the Colts. Very good punter. And he talked, without naming Bo Brinkley, as if Bo Brinkley must have been part of the Titans' kicking problem 2 years ago when it was a disaster, and for Gostkowski at the beginning of the year when he was poor, before they cut Bo Brinkley and replaced him with Overton, who's now being replaced by Cox, which is fine. I understand these guys are very kind of neurotic and everything needs to be perfect and everything. But football is a game where you have to make things go right even when they go wrong. And so I will take for the Tennessee Titans or for any team a kicker who might be able to hit a kick if the ball is a quarter inch off, left, right, up, back, if the timing is a millisecond off or whatever.
Laces out, Dan.
Yeah, look, these things shouldn't happen, but there's a lot going on in a football game on a kick rush and all of that. And sometimes it's not going to go perfectly. And you know what's allowed to happen, fellas? You're allowed to hit the field goal anyway. And I bet you the best kickers in the league, I bet you Adam Vinatieri during all those great years, when there was snow on the ground and he hit that first giant field goal that got the Patriots dynasty started, was that a perfect scenario? Or did he make
Not
a
with the
field
snow,
goal?
but I doubt it was a low snap.
No. And I'm not saying I applaud low snaps. I'm saying occasionally if something misfires, you're allowed to make do with it.
You are in service of the kicker, though.
No, absolutely.
I will say that if you're going to have someone in that position, you need to be able to do what the kicker wants.
I agree. But Cairo Santo and
Well, those kickers suck. That's why. I mean, that's why they got
well,
cut.
McAfee's making it sound in a way like Bo Brinkley was responsible for all of that, and I think
No.
Cairo Santo was responsible for Cairo Santo, and Ryan Suckup was responsible for Ryan Suckup, and Gostkowski at the beginning of the year was responsible for Gostkowski. Maybe Brinkley was a factor on one or two for those guys, but they didn't suck because of Bo Brinkley. Do you think?
No, but I do think that if you are in that position, if you're the holder or the snapper, like I said, you are in service of the kicker.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's all about what the kicker wants. If you screw it up, you're going to be the first to know that it wasn't the kicker's fault, and that's an issue. Now, we're talking, though, about bad kickers that perform poorly, not because of their snapper.
Well,
Look, they got a good long snapper, but go get a good kicker, too.
We're also discussing good players who went through a bumpy patch and never got back on rhythm.
Yeah.
Bo Brinkley and Ryan Suckup specifically.
Yeah.
So and when they went downhill, the whole unit went downhill, special teams wise. So they're trying to revamp that, and the repetition and the practice that those guys go through, and how quirky kickers are to begin with. One, half inch off on the repetition is weird to them.
It looks different to them, and then it makes them have a different form at times because things don't feel right.
But in 2019, when the Titans were an absolute disaster area at kicker, if Bo Brinkley was a big part of the problem, then they should have damn well replaced Bo Brinkley then. Were they a year late on Bo Brinkley? Why?
Well, Bo Brinkley wasn't the same when he came back from COVID.
Agreed. But the year that they were really bad at kicker, if he was part of the problem, they should have replaced his ass.
Well, maybe they tried. Didn't they bring in some competition during the season?
I don't remember it in 2019. Now, last year they had two long snappers on the roster for a couple weeks. Yeah. But last year was bad. It wasn't a disaster. The year before was a disaster.
Coming up, we will get back into some hoops discussion Chad's got to take on Lady Vols basketball that will tip
Just
off
a
on
statement.
Sunday.
I don't know if it's
A
I
statement.
wouldn't go into take mode. It's more of a
brief
statement
statement.
about.
Is it a written
Guys,
statement?
I have a brief statement I'd like to read when we come back about some things I said earlier about Isaiah Wilson's laughter I'll read that. By the way, you know where else you can hear Isaiah Wilson laugh? When he's smoking weed and not playing football, which he did this entire past year.
I think you're making comparisons that don't fit. That Kendall Lamb was good with the media makes me want Kendall Lamb to be a good player. It's not the same as
You don't
the
think the
Titans.
media made too big of a deal about his great laugh and that
No,
John
we
Robinson
didn't.
did
John
also?
Robinson
No,
made
the
a
Titans.
big deal
That
out
was
of
what the
his
Titans
great
said.
laugh. They
Well,
said that he
I am
won them
allowed
over
to
with his
mock them
jolly
for
laugh.
eternity for that.
Oh, absolutely, but it's not the
They
same
will
thing
be.
I'm talking about with
Right.
Kendall Lamb.
They will be. Coming up, more of OutKick 360 as we get you set for tip-off of the NCAA tournament. OutKick 360, the OutKick OTT Network, Friday edition, week one, the debut week, nearly in the books as we broadcast live today from 6th and Peabody, Yeehaw Brewing Company, Old Smoky Tennessee Moonshine. Bartender has been busy already this morning as the VIP event well underway. We're getting set for tip-off of the NCAA tournament in round one, coming up in about 30 minutes.
Very quickly, if you're watching us on YouTube, on monitoring, give us a thumbs up. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us on Apple. All of these things help us. You could find us on Apple, Stitcher, Google, what's it called?
Google Play, I think?
Google Play, anywhere that you
Audible?
listen.
Did you mention Audible? I love how we're learning new apps
every
every
time
day.
we list them, we leave one out. Spotify, all the places that you can listen to podcasts, you will find OutKick 360. You
Bumble,
can watch us on
Grindr,
Twitter.
Tinder, wherever you can find us.
TikTok.
Just rate us
You
everywhere,
can watch
please.
us through Twitter, through YouTube. So, yeah,
someone
Chad
catch
took a
that.
wild turn there.
Yep.
And in 15 minutes, who knows what we start to get into while we watch these games. But
And if you watch the
our
promo
numbers,
with Paul explaining how you and Hutton met,
Yeah.
maybe it'll all make sense.
so our
It'll all come
numbers
together.
have been terrific this first week. We're very grateful.
Yes.
Give us those ratings and those helps. That'll give us a boost. Tell your friends. And catch up on shows this weekend on your drive home this afternoon. And let's keep it going.
Chad, what do we have here?
Well, as you can see, we have some friends that joined us for the final segment.
Hello, ladies.
This is what I've always wanted to do, guys, is have a show on Food Network where I'm describing cocktails or
I
food
know a
in
guy
front of
who
me.
used to work there.
This is if we can get a close up there, this is a blackberry mule made here
Don't be
with
fooled by the
Old
color.
Smoky Blackberry Moonshine. This is a new concoction. It's black cherry.
We're calling
it does
it
not have a
the
name. We're going to
360.
call it the 360. But these are out here for us, the staff here at Old Smoky, Yeehaw, 6th and Peabody. They got a lot of names here. It's a lot of fun also. They're doing a great job taking care of us. Walter made sure this happened. Big thanks to him. First, a tutorial,
Teach us.
though, on how a man should drink.
Teach us.
Granted, this isn't the most manly drink in front of us, but it's going to taste delicious. But the first thing you do is when you see a straw, if you're a man, you take the straw out and you throw it like that. Hutton, if you would too, please.
I will. We're glad.
That's the first
Glad
thing you
to.
do before you take a drink.
May I squeeze the lime?
As my cousin once told me, imagine making eyes with a woman across the bar for all the single guys out there, and then the first thing you do is put your lips to the straw and take a sip as you're drinking across the bar. So you don't want that.
May I squeeze
Let's
the
go.
lime?
Let's go with the absolutely. Let's go with the blackberry moonshine concoction, the blackberry mule. We'll give this a taste test.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, gentlemen. First week.
In the books, almost.
It's refreshing.
Crisp.
Very crisp.
Good.
Oh.
It's great.
Very, very refreshing. You can have these when you come out and visit with us today. 6th and Peabody, we'll be here all day. Tennessee tips at 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central for those interested in that game. Already a great crowd on hand. It's going to be one of the biggest parties in 6th and Peabody history I'm anticipating today. And it's going to be all because of you.
Lance, would you like some? I know David does not. Jakob, would you like a?
Jakob,
Would you like some as well? We can pass some
bring
to
those
you.
around.
Look, we also have Yeehaw beer options as well. I'm getting handed
Bring
these.
those
So
around.
please, our crew will now partake and grab some of these as
Here's-
well. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, huge thanks. This is going to be a great day. If you're in the area, if you're in downtown Nashville, Middle Tennessee, swing by and watch all the games with us. We're going to be here all day here at 6th and Peabody. Chad, your take. No, your thought
Yeah.
on the Lady
what did he
Vols.
say? His
It's not-
statement.
He was like, it's not a take.
It's a statement.
It's really cool. 3-14 matchup in the women's tournament and local interest in our Tennessee Power Hour to close it out. Rick Insell, MTSU, as a 14 taking on the Lady Vols on Sunday as a 3 seed. Rick Insell was the AAU coach of Kelly Harper growing
Is that
up, he's going to go face head to head with. Rick Insell said of all of the Pat Summitt players that he thinks Kelly Harper is most like Pat Summitt from a personality standpoint. So that gets Lady Vols fans excited.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to watch that game. It's cool when you get into the NCAA tournament and the committee can get clever with giving you local tie-ins. But MTSU, Lady Vols in the first round, it's pretty cool.
I should know this.
Hunt's an
where
MTSU
are
grad. Where are they? I have no idea. I'm going to be totally honest.
All right,
They're
end
gonna
of
be on-
statement.
They're in a
They will-
basketball gym. They're
they
going
will
to play
be
it in a
on,
gym. It's not going to be outdoors. It's going to be inside in a gym somewhere.
They will be on ABC. That's where I know they'll be playing.
Oh, wow. That's big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not a 14 seed, but the MTSU's always ranked low
Right.
for whatever reason
Just
with
the
Insell's
nature of
teams.
the-
I think the highest was an 11.
I think it's going to be a good game.
I'm
We look
interested.
forward to your
Rick
report.
Insell can coach.
If I may,
Yes, you may.
so all season, Jerry Stackhouse has been wanting support and respect. Look no further, Jerry, than Juwan Howard at Michigan. That's how you come out of the NBA and coach a college basketball team. That's how you earn respect of the local media and expectations met, is by going out and producing as a coach instead of pointing to results as a player in the NBA. I got tired of this throughout the entire season, pointing to disrespect with the Vanderbilt program. Do something like Juwan Howard's doing up in Michigan, and then assess the assistant coaches around you the way Juwan Howard did. He's got some coaching depth and some prowess on that bench with him.
Former head coaches.
Sure. And it's paying off for them right now.
Hell, there are miles and miles, Mr. Stackhouse, between Juwan Howard and you. And Vanderbilt community and national respect would come if you got in the damn tournament. Hell, get in the SEC tournament beyond the first game. You don't have to be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, though that would be nice.
This idea, though, that there's some media bias, win.
Yeah, right.
Win some conference games.
There's no media bias.
You had the record. You had their record through his
he's-
first 2 seasons.
He's, if you combine the 2 worst seasons of Bryce Drew, and that includes a winless SEC record that got him fired. By the way, Bryce Drew in this NCAA tournament with Grand Canyon. If you combine those 2 years, it's the same as Jerry Stackhouse's first 2 years. And he didn't have a winless season, but not really much improvement in year 2 for Jerry Stackhouse. People asking the question, what does he need to do in year 3? I think top half of the SEC. I think finish, be a top 7 seed in the NCAA or the SEC tournament, have a chance at the NCAA tournament. That's what I'd like to see in year 3 from Jerry Stackhouse. I don't see this team getting there unless they bring in some transfers or something happens with the roster. But I don't know that I've seen a coach that speaks in a way and thinks more highly of himself to have done as little as he has in college coaching than Jerry Stackhouse in that interview with Joe Rexrode for The Athletic. I mean, he talked, I don't know why anyone would question me. I mean, I've played for the greatest coaches in the world, and I played at a high level in the NBA. Dude, you haven't done anything in college basketball. Nothing. You won a G League title. That's why people question you, because the team's not any good. So if it turns into year 3 and it's the same results, you're going to be out of a job.
And back to Grand Canyon for a minute. Dan Marley built something good there. Finally had 1 bad season.
Dan the man.
They kicked him out. Bryce Drew inherited a pretty good situation. Dan Marley, one of my 5 all-time favorite, greatest athletes. And that's saying something because he played in the NBA, which I hate.
Guys,
and not
fun
on
week.
the Knicks.
Hud and I have a great Dan Marley story we'll share at some point on this show, where we met Dan Marley in Phoenix.
Yeah, the night before I got there, or the
With
one
the
night
new
I didn't
setup.
go out.
The night before I had a stomach virus also.
Yeah.
It was actually that
We'll
later
also
that
compare
night.
stomach viruses, his in Phoenix and mine in Minneapolis.
Dan Marley poisoned me via food at his restaurant. I'll tell you the story next week. It was
Well,
great.
with the new setup, maybe we'll take the show on the road and go to Marley's.
That's right.
We can do that now.
Thunder Dan, if you're watching via the internet, we'll be in your place soon. Thank you.
Florida
I'm
and
trying to
Virginia
like it.
Tech will tip off the first round of the tournament coming up at 11:15 Central, 12:15 Eastern. We're going to be here all day. We're at least staying through the Tennessee matchup as they take on Oregon State. That tip-off is at 3:30 Central Time. So we'll be here all day here at Yeehaw, Old Smoky, and at 6th and Peabody. Just plug it in. Come join us here with OutKick and the VIP party. Clay Travis is here. The whole crew is here with OutKick. Guys, thank you. Thank you for the great first week.
Give
Lance
yourselves
Lee,
a round of applause.
Jacob
Seriously.
Swanson.
Lance,
Reed.
Jacob,
David Reed, the chairman of the board, making the show happen for us, and everyone behind the scenes, and to the season ticket holders, to the VIPs that tuned in this week. We are back at it on Monday, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern, right here on the OutKick OTT Network.
I finish with a message. Do not block the box. Duke, thanks for the bobbleheads.
Cheers.